So good morning, folks, and welcome back to the online learning platform at Department of Civil Engineering, BMS Institute of Technology and Management. We are together back on this rainy day on the course Environmental Studies. Okay. Now, if you recollect in the previous session, we had a brief understanding of environmental impact assessment. Friends, in today's presentation, I will take you through the concept of acid rain. I'll introduce you to the basic concept. Okay, what are the potential causes? What are the sources? What is the implication of acid rain? How can we go about controlling it? Finally, I shall summarize it and list the references for your kind perusal. So now, basically, let's have some simple understanding of what is acid rain. Before we go into acid rain, let's have an understanding of those words, acid and rain. Okay, probably rain would be much more easier for you to be familiar with. Now, rain is a form of precipitation. I and you, we are very much aware of that, and we also know that there are different forms of precipitation, not just rainfall. You can also have ice fall, you can have snowfall, you can have sleet, okay, and so forth. So rain is just one among the various types of precipitation. Now, when you come to the concept of acid, okay, in your engineering chemistry, you have studied about pH. Okay, probably the most famed definition, as you would put it across, is it is the negative logarithm of hydrogen ion concentration, or I would rather put it across as the potential of hydrogen ion activity. Now, we have a pH scale which starts from 1 and ends at 14. So more than 1 and less than 7, it is acidic range. Greater than 7 and up to 14 is alkaline or basic range. 7 is considered as a neutral point. Okay. Now, the other information that we need to understand is if I mix acid and alkali, the resultant would be salt and water. So friends, this is a basic knowledge that you already possess, and I was just brushing upon it. Okay, now let's further try to understand something more about rain. Okay, because why does somebody call something as acid rain? Is it that the rainfall is acidic? If that is the case, what would be the pH of the normal rainfall? Friends, I want you to understand this normal precipitation which is taking place. Today it's a rainy day. Okay, even the rain which is pouring upon us, that is also actually acidic in nature. Okay, now only at the point of formation, the rainfall is neutral. But what happens is as the rainfall happens, as the rainwater trickles down, okay, it would dissolve various gases. Now, the most predominant gas would be your carbon dioxide. Okay, under the normal circumstances. Now, when your rainwater dissolves carbon dioxide, it results in the production of carbonic acid. Okay, have a look at the equation here. CO2 plus H2O results in carbonic acid. Carbonic acid is a weak acid. Okay, that is why though the normal rainfall is acidic, we are not endangered by it. So please remember this: normal form of precipitation is slightly acidic. That means it is slightly less than 7 pH. Okay, so if that is the basic knowledge that I and you need to possess about a normal form of precipitation, about normal rainfall, then why is that there is a special terminology called as acid rain? Friends, acid rain was first observed in Manchester, that is England. Okay, in the year 1852, a gentleman called as Robert Angus Smith, he had discovered that acid rain, basically there is a connection of your rainfall and your atmospheric pollution. Though we discovered it way back in 1852, until 1960s, there was not much of a work which was carried out. But after 1960s, several research have been carried out in understanding about acid rain. In simple terms, okay, if you would ask me, if normal rainfall is also acidic, then why do we call something specially as acid rain? Very simple. So probably, this acid rain must be having a very low pH. Okay, exactly. Friends, please listen very carefully. Any form of precipitation, That is snowfall, icefall, sleet, rainfall, anything, any form of precipitation, if it has a pH less than 5.6, I repeat, any form of precipitation, if it has a pH less than 5.6, then it is called as acid rain. All right, okay. Now, I want you to look at the image on your screen. You see sources of pollution, you also see some sort of chemicals. Okay, we shall try to understand more about this further. So what exactly is a cause for acid rain? If you tell me that the normal rainfall is acidic and it contains carbonic acid, then obviously your acid rain must contain stronger acids. So what could be those stronger acids? And if carbon dioxide is contributing to formation of carbonic acid, what is causing the formation of acid rain? Friends, carbon dioxide is a primary pollutant in this context. Okay, now carbon dioxide results in the formation of carbonic acid. Carbonic acid is a secondary pollutant. In the same sense, the primary pollutants in the case of acid rain is sulfur dioxide and oxides of nitrogen. They, in the presence of sunlight, okay, temperature, humidity, they result in the production of sulfuric acid and nitric acid respectively. So if your normal rainfall contains only carbonic acid, if in the event of acid rain, please note, it would compress, it would contain most probably 70% of sulfuric acid and 30% of nitric acid. Of course, these percentages would vary from location to location. Now, with this information, now let's move further to understand, what are the sources for the production of these primary pollutants. Friends, for any form of air pollution, you can have a natural source and an anthropogenic source, that is man-made source. Now, when it comes to natural sources, the most important source for sulfur dioxide is volcanic eruptions and forest fires. Okay, now whenever volcano erupts, it emits huge volumes of gases, okay, smoke, but primarily it contains sulfur dioxide. Similarly, in case if there's a forest which catches fire, okay, that also would emit huge quantities of sulfur dioxide. Now that's a natural source. The man-made source, however, would be your thermal power plants and probably some percentage coming from your diesel engines, diesel operated vehicles. Okay, but mostly sulfur dioxide comes from your stacks or chimneys of thermal power plant because they burn coal and coal contains sulfur. Now, we know very well that a volcano doesn't erupt every day, a forest doesn't catch fire every day. So the major cause of sulfur dioxide being released into the environment is the thermal power plants itself. Now, similarly, when you speak about oxides of nitrogen, the natural source is your nitrogen cycle. Okay, but that is well within the limits. There are 7 forms of oxides of nitrogen, out of which 2 to 3 are dangerous. Now these 2 to 3 are actually not released from nature, but it is released by me and you. That is when we ride or when we drive vehicles. Okay, if you go back to your mechanical engineering in first year, when you speak about IC engines, okay, when you learned about injection stroke, compression stroke, okay, ignition stroke, exhaust stroke, what is happening in compression? You have fuel and air mixture compressed, you have fuel and air mixture being burnt. Now you know very well 78% of the atmosphere contains nitrogen. So when I say fuel and air mixture burns, nitrogen is burning and oxides of nitrogen is being produced. So therefore the major culprit for your acid rain is the man-made sources, thermal power plants and automobile pollution. Okay, wherein SO2 is released, oxides of nitrogen is released, and both of them result in the production of sulfuric acid and nitric acid. In fact, probably according to some other forms of research, there is one more strong acid which is a component of acid rain, that is hydrochloric acid. Unfortunately, I cannot, comment more about this because we do not have more proof to substantiate that. Okay. Now, let's have a quick recap. So how exactly is acid rain formed? I need a primary pollutant, which is sulfur dioxide, okay, or oxides of nitrogen. Then in the presence of sunlight, in the presence of temperature, okay, that is elevated temperature, in the presence of oxygen, in the presence of moisture or water vapor, it gets converted to sulfuric acid, it gets converted to nitric acid. So whenever it rains, whenever it snows, whenever there is ice fall, if the pH is less than 5.6, we can assume that it contains sulfuric acid and nitric acid. Of course, it may be a wet deposition or a dry deposition. Okay. Now, what are the major impacts of acid rain on the environment? Friends, please understand the impacts are varied depending on where it happens. Now, the major impact of acid rain would be on the wetlands, would be on the freshwater ecosystem or your marine ecosystem. But again, it depends. Let me give you a small example. Whether acid rain falls on your water or your land, okay, it doesn't mean that the moment acid rain happens the pH will fall down. No, even your natural surfaces like water, let's say a lake or let's say a soil, okay, the moment acid rain falls, do not anticipate that the pH will immediately drop. Basically, natural surfaces also contains alkalis. So let us say we have a lake and there is acid rain falling. What would primarily happen is the acid in the acid rain would react with the alkali in the lake and result in the formation of salt and water. Only when all the alkali or bases in the lake or the soil have been exhausted, then the pH will start falling down. Okay, now when the pH starts falling down, one or the other species in your food chain will be affected. One or other species in your food web will be impacted, which means the entire ecosystem is going to collapse. But as you can see on the image on the left hand side, different species have different tolerance levels. So let us say if the pH falls below 6, okay, then the snails will be impacted. But species such as your salamander and frogs would somehow be stable. But let us say the pH falls below 5, then the salamanders would not be able to survive. Let's say the pH comes below 4, then the frogs would not be able to survive. So depending on how the acid rain has happened, how much the pH has reduced, different species in the lake ecosystem or your pond ecosystem would be impacted. And subsequently, please understand, you're talking about a food chain or a food web. When you remove one link, everything will be disturbed and destroyed. Now let's go to the next impact of acid rain. Now acid rain can impact vegetation as well. There are two ways: direct impact, indirect impact. Okay, now we know very well that if you need to have a plantation or a forest, okay, if you want the trees or plants and shrubs and herbs to be growing, they need to prepare food, they need to indulge in photosynthesis, and that is primarily the function of leaves. Leaves are the kitchen of your plant. And please understand, only green plants can prepare food, because only green plants can synthesize the operation of photosynthesis, because they contain chlorophyll, the green pigment. Now what happens is, when acid rain falls on your plants and leaves, okay, acid will destroy this chlorophyll which is present in the leaves. And when this chlorophyll has been destroyed, the plants would not be able to engage in photosynthesis. And when the plants would not be able to engage in photosynthesis, automatically the entire tree or the plant would die. Now this is a typical example of how all the leaves have fallen down because of the impact of acid rain, wherein all the chlorophyll has been destroyed. Okay, now this is a direct impact of acid rain on vegetation. We can also have an indirect impact. Okay, now indirect impact is when soil fertility is disturbed, when acid rain tampers with the microorganisms which are very important for fertility. So let's say I give you an example. If you go to your chemistry lab, take a beaker with sulfuric acid, and then you take a gold chain or a necklace and then put it into that acid, what would basically happen? the entire gold metal would melt or get dissolved. So friends, even the nutrients which are there in the soil, okay, whether it's your macronutrients or micronutrients, which are very important for the plants to grow, when acid rain happens, when it falls on the soil, that acid will destroy or dissolve all these nutrients in the soil. So when all the nutrients have been destroyed, how will the plant survive? Okay, now not only that, there are essential microorganisms and living beings such as earthworms which are required if you want fertility to be intact. Acid rain has a potential to destroy that as well. Okay, so finally, nutrient uptake and the microbial interaction, when that is disturbed, then again your vegetation is going to suffer. Now let's move on to the next impact, that is impact on buildings, impact on building materials, impact on structures, impact on monuments. As you can see a comparative image, okay, this monument has been disfigured. It is not because of vandalism. This image, this structure has been disfigured into this because it was exposed to acid rain. Okay, now let's take a better example. Let's talk about Taj Mahal, because we are from India and we believe that it is one of the 7 wonders of the world. I really do not know whether it still deserves to be called the 7th wonder of the world, because if you have seen Taj Mahal over various decades, the beauty, the shine, the glory of Taj Mahal has reduced. Okay, over every 10 years, somebody would tell me that, when I saw Taj Mahal, it was whitish. Somebody would tell me it is yellowish. Somebody would tell me it is grayish. Let's try to understand the chemistry behind how Taj Mahal is being destroyed due to acid rain. Friends, Taj Mahal is made up of white marble, that is calcium carbonate. Okay, now calcium carbonate is a very strong chemical compound, and that is the primary reason why the Taj Mahal has seen several centuries, okay, together. It is still intact. That is because the major compound in Taj Mahal is calcium carbonate. Now let's imagine that due to some form of pollution, let us say, probably Mathura refineries is releasing sulfur dioxide, or any petroleum refinery, okay, eventually what happens, there is production of nitric acid or sulfuric acid. Say, for the case of argument, let us say acid rain falls on Taj Mahal. Let us say sulfuric acid falls on Taj Mahal. Eventually what happens is, when H2SO4, when it falls on Taj Mahal, that is when H2SO4 falls on calcium carbonate, there is a reaction, and this reaction subsequently results in the formation of calcium sulfate, water vapor, and carbon dioxide. Friends, if in case your Taj Mahal is appearing yellowish, that is because of calcium sulfate, because sulfur provides a yellow tinge. Okay, now the danger part is, unlike calcium carbonate, calcium sulfate is easily dissolvable in water. So probably when there is rainfall, or when there is production of water vapor, you can expect this substance or this structure to be weaker. If you do a closer observation of Taj Mahal, the structure which was highly solid before, now it has become porous in nature. Okay, it has become hollow. All right, it's like termites when they attack the wood. Okay, so now the stability of Taj Mahal is coming down because of the production of calcium sulfate, which is replacing calcium carbonate. Okay, not only that, the great tinge on Taj Mahal is because of the production of carbon as fine soot particles. Okay, this is a major reason why Taj Mahal is losing its glory due to environmental pollution, due to acid rain. So friends, how can we control acid rain? See, this simple representation is to tell you that in some countries, okay, or some states, okay, not every state of a nation or every country of a continent indulges in pollution. But the problem with acid rain is, acid rain comprises of 2 components. One is acid and the other is rain. There is no way that I and you can control rain production. There is no way that you can control sunlight, temperature, okay, water vapor, clouds. We just cannot control the formation of rain. But can we control the formation of acid? Yes. I cannot control sulfuric acid, I cannot control nitric acid. But what is that I can control? I can control production of sulfur dioxide. I can control production of oxides of nitrogen. So if I can have green renewable energy which replaces thermal power plants, I can cut down production of SO2. If I can go for better technologies, let's say, you use carpooling system or public transport system, or let's say you use bicycles or you walk shorter distances, wherein you are able to reduce the production of oxides of nitrogen, then yes, nitric acid production can be controlled. In simple words, what I want to tell you is the only way to control acid rain is control the production of SO2, control the production of oxides of nitrogen. If you can do that, then acid rain can be controlled. Now, let's summarize. So what did we learn in the first presentation? We have a brief glimpse of what is pH scale. Okay. Now, in the context of acid rain, we understood that how it is formed, that the connection of the primary pollutants and secondary pollutants. We also understood how harmful it is for the vegetation, for the soil fertility, for the building materials, okay, for water bodies. So acid rain is a form of environmental pollution which is not only causing ecological damage, it also causes economical damage. Just imagine if you have a house which is getting damaged by acid rain, you need to spend more money on the repair and maintenance. Similarly, if a monument like Taj Mahal is getting damaged, then the tourism would be impacted. Okay. Now, when you speak about the ecological disaster, yes, destruction of a lake ecosystem or a soil ecosystem. Now, again, forest getting destroyed is an ecological disaster. But if you have a plantation which is being destroyed, then it's an economic disaster. Okay. And finally, we understood that if you want to control acid rain, you must control the primary pollutants, because there have been incidents, let's say, for example, once upon a time in early 1990s, okay, there was acid rain which happened in Himachal Pradesh in the form of snowfall. The snowfall was yellowish in color. Himachal did not have any major sources of pollution, but this was coming from the neighboring states of Himachal, wherein all the smoke was coming towards Himachal Pradesh. Okay, this is something very similar to your air pollution status in Delhi. Okay, even if Delhi controls air pollution by controlling automobiles, the pollution still happens because of stubble burning, which is happening in Haryana or Punjab. Okay, now to end this presentation and to have an enhanced understanding, let's look at a small video.
Acid rain is any form of precipitation with high levels of nitric and sulfuric acids. It can occur in the form of snow, fog, and even dry materials that settle to Earth. Most acid rain is caused by human activities. When people burn fossil fuels, sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides are released into the atmosphere. These gases react with water, oxygen, and other substances to form sulfuric and nitric acid. Winds may spread these acidic solutions over hundreds of miles. After it falls to Earth, acid rain enters water systems as runoff and sinks into the ground. This can make water toxic to crayfish, clams, fish, and other aquatic animals. The rest of the food chain, including non-aquatic species such as birds, is often affected as well. Acid rain also harms forests by damaging trees and leaves, robbing the soil of essential nutrients, and making it hard for trees to take up water. By designing cleaner power plants and using fewer fossil fuels, we can reduce the number of pollutants that create acid rain.
So friends, we are done with the first presentation for today. So these are the references for a kind perusal. You're welcome to refer any form of literature to enhance your knowledge. Okay, in the subsequent classes, we shall be again engaging with environmental pollution and abatement with the help of case studies. All right. Now, I thank you for your kind attention and patience. And now we are open for any questions and queries that you may have. Thank you.